ibn Malik radiallahu anhu. What do we know about our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How much do we know about our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam through Anas? How important, how central is he to this deen? How much have we fallen in love with the Prophet ﷺ through Anas ibn Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu? Some of you know a hadith and you don't even know that Anas is the narrator. And they're quoted all the time. And we know the basics about our Prophet ﷺ through Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, who was with him for that entire time. Why am I talking about Anas and al-Bara? 20 years after Hijrah. So Anas lived until, you guys are going to remember this for the rest of your life, inshallah. Anas lived until 93 years after Hijrah. 20 years after Hijrah, in the Battle of At-Tustar against the Persians. The Persians had a nasty tactic, like a really nasty tactic. They would heat up iron hooks in this battle, and then they were on an elevated ground. They would throw the hooks into the Muslims, and they'd reel them up. And your body was probably disintegrated by the time you got to them. That's how they heated up the iron, and they threw these fire hooks, and they would pull people up. If the hook got you, you were dead. No one survives that. Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu says that in that battle, a hook caught me, and it started to reel me up. And my brother al-Bara, he ran up and he jumped on me, and then he climbed my body, and he took his hands and he unhooked me until he said, Wallahi, the flesh burned off of his two hands entirely. I'm sorry to get so gruesome. There was no more flesh on his hands, radiallahu anhu. And he fell and he died shaheed that day. Radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Anas radiallahu anhu lived for 73 years after that. 7 decades of Anas ibn Malik are possible because al-Bara radiallahu anhu wasn't just holding on to a burning hot coal for himself. He knew the value of Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu to this ummah. And he grabbed that hook himself and he let it burn through his hands because he knew this brother of his that had access to the Prophet ﷺ the way he did was special. And the ummah needed him. Subhanallah. 73 years of Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu would not have been possible, of course, by the grace of Allah, but through a man behind the scenes who was willing to let his hands burn for this ummah, for his brother. The imagery, dear brothers and sisters, is compelling. In this journey, when we fell from the heavens through our father Adam alayhi salam, grab onto al-urwat al-wuthqa, grab onto the trustworthy handhold. Do not be led by the storm of this dunya and let the winds take you wherever to where you're a person of no principle, a person of no purpose. Let it take you wherever. Grab onto the next drug, grab onto the next addiction, grab onto the next high. Forget about all of that. Grab onto the next relationship. Grab on all these things of this world, superficial things. Hold on to al-urwat al-wuthqa. Forget about the storm of this world. And then the rope of Allah, extend the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to as many brothers and sisters as you can. Because this deen is a deen that unites us. If when you became more religious, you started excommunicating more Muslims, you are not on the way the Prophet ﷺ taught. Don't tell me that's the way the Prophet ﷺ taught. If that's what your result is of this deen, that you start cutting people off and excommunicating more Muslims, kicking them off of the rope of Allah, come on. How is that in the way of Rasulullah ﷺ, who's literally trying to catch people from their waist belts falling into the fire? Hold on to the trustworthy handhold, extend the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then when it comes to the pain of doing so, hold on to that burning hot coal. Insha'Allah ta'ala, you will replace it on the day of judgment with your book of deeds in your right hand that will be light for you. And let your hands burn for something greater.